Our next guest, the former OMB director, stands in stark contrast to Neera Tanden. While pro-life groups raise alarm over Tanden's role in the OMB, they praised previous OMB director Russ Vought for being instrumental in stopping Title X taxpayer funding of Planned Parenthood and other abortion businesses and protecting private insurers from being forced to cover elective abortions and in safeguarding conscience protections for pro-life healthcare workers and entities. Russ Vought, the former director of the Office of Management and Budget, is here with us. Vought served as director of OMB for 2 years. He was a member of President Trump's cabinet and was responsible for overseeing the implementation of the president's policy, management, and deregulatory agendas across the executive branch. Russ, welcome. First, what is your reaction to Neera Tanden's nomination as the next OMB director?
Yeah, it is very consistent with all of the hard left nominees that this president has put forward. She will be in a position, if confirmed, to be able to ensure that his policies are reflected throughout the federal government. Really, that is the role of the Office of Management and Budget. And she is someone that is consistent with his leftist agenda. I mean, he has tried to, I think, govern with a tone of moderation. But if you look within the policies, they're just as hard left as we expected. So she's going through the process that I went through. Not the most comfortable process. But it is certainly one that should trouble pro-lifers from the standpoint of the policy agenda that she'll be asked to articulate.
I'd love to speak more to that. It may not seem very obvious that the OMB, the Office of Management and Budget, does play a crucial role when it comes to the abortion issue at the executive level. For those of us who have never worked in the White House, can you break down the importance of that specific office, the office you directed, and why pro-lifers need to pay attention to what happens there?
Yeah, OMB directors get the title of budget director, but really the Office of Management and Budget is designed to execute a president's agenda throughout the federal government. So every regulation goes through the Office of Management and Budget, all resource decisions. So if an administration wants to spend money at the Department of Health and Human Service, that decision will come through the Office of Management and Budget. And then we also have a lot of opportunity to work on management issues. So you're really a nerve center from the federal government's perspective to be able to put a high-level policy position into effect and to make sure that the bureaucracy, quite frankly, isn't going in a different direction. And so, I think the choice of Neera to that position is reflective of President Biden wanting someone that's consistent with his ideology to be able to use all the authority and power that office has.
During your time as OMB director, what specific pro-life accomplishments were you able to directly work on and advance?
Yeah, I mean, I think the beauty of working in the Trump administration is the president had a very strong commitment to life. And so we knew, for those of us who were pro-life within the administration, that any decision that got to the Resolute desk was going to go in a different way. So it really empowered us to be able to push pro-life policies. Two that I am particularly fond of having worked on was the effort to bar the co-location of Planned Parenthood facilities, to say that if you're going to be in the business of health, then you have to be differently located than your abortion activities. And of course, money is fungible, and there's a reason they wanted to group those centers together. And as a result, Planned Parenthood said, we're going to get out of the Title X program. So that was a major reform that we put forward. And the second one, which did have quite a bit of debate within the administration, was whether we were going to get out of the business of federal funding of fetal tissue research. And this was something that was particularly of importance because the scientific community was offering up all of the things that could be done with this research. And the president came down on the pro-life side once again, and that was something that we took to the Resolute desk and took to the Oval Office, and it was a really important policy decision that the president made.
President Joe Biden has been in office for 3 weeks now, and he's already rescinded the Mexico City policy, and he has directed Health and Human Services to review the Protect Life rule that you were just describing, which is a sign that's about to be gone as well, likely. How significant is all of this, and what's your reaction as someone who directly worked on those policies?
The speed at which he has been moving forward is just amazing, in the sense that he has just using executive order after executive order to pull back these. And when it says, we're just reviewing it, what he's doing there is not necessarily saying I'm considering it. He's saying to the American people, I need to go through particular legal processes to make sure that if we move in that direction, it can be sustained in court. And so this is not good news that it hasn't been done yet. It is just merely the fact that we have a battle on our hands.
Speaking of HHS, what's your reaction to President Biden's nominee to head the HHS, California Attorney General Xavier Becerra?
Very concerned about it. He was in charge of a very consequential office in the state of California. So he not only is hard left in his policies, pro-choice, radical ideologies, but he's also led a very big institution and has been involved in in legal suits that, from a standpoint of knowing how the government works, I think he'll know quite a bit. And so I have substantial concerns about that and how he'll work with the Office of Management and Budget.
Can you explain how, in your role as OMB director, how closely you worked with the HHS secretary? What was that relationship like there?
You work very closely. You're a member of the cabinet together. You're often on the phone with each other trying to work through particular issues. And this was an area where, I was fortunate to have a good relationship with Alex Azar. But your OMB director is kind of, you're within the White House complex. And so you're a part of all of those policy discussions, but you're also translating those for the agencies.
I want to pivot to a new topic now. You are launching the Center for American Restoration and its advocacy arm, American Restoration Action. It's been reported the goal is to keep important cultural issues alive and at the forefront. Tell us about your plans with your new group, and is the pro-life issue one you plan to prominently work on?
It is, and I laid out our vision in an op-ed recently, and pro-life was number one on our list of issues. My view is that for too long, the center-right movement has not engaged enough on the cultural issues. These are the issues that get you disinvited from a dinner party, that causes tension with your neighbors, and yet those are the issues that are where we're getting the onslaught the most from the left. And so our challenge is to be able to restore a consensus in this country about what it means to be American, but to arm people, grassroots, families, communities, to be able to have these conversations in a way that actually convinces people so that we can add people to our ranks. And I think the pro-life movement itself is a model of a movement that over 50 years has been able to take an issue and bring converts to the side so that we are in a much better situation now than we were in the 1970s, although we have tremendous work to do.
Right. The pro-life movement's only growing stronger. Henry Olsen wrote an op-ed in the Washington Post last week about your new think tank and the need to flesh out ideas that a serious governing movement needs. That being said, would you say the pro-life movement has any sort of equivalent of this? And you've already said it seems it will have an institutional presence at your new group.
It will. It'll be on the pro-life issue. I think the movement is great and really developed, and I think we'll just slide in alongside of other great organizations that have, over the last 40 or 50 years, really been able to talk about the issue of getting rid of abortion. But we want to take it one step further, and have a culture of life that is celebrated. I look at it from the standpoint of I have a child with cystic fibrosis, and we have a fight on our hands within that community because there are so many people in this country that when they get that information from a doctor or a nurse that they're going to have a cystic fibrosis baby, they go to a dark place, and we want to be a voice for those with conditions like that, or individuals with disability, that this is a great place and that they have dignity and they have human worth, and as a result, America is a great place for them as well.
Absolutely. We only have about a minute left, but I understand at the Center for American Restoration, you'll also directly address cancel culture. How much of a threat is cancel culture to the pro-life movement, do you think?
Increasingly, it is something that I think people are going to be very concerned about, in the sense that anytime we engage in these cultural issues, and pro-life, I think because of the work of the last 50 years, is a little bit more accepted than it once was. But we still have a fight on our hand with regard to conscience protections, and anytime you're going against culture, the high points of culture is going to be fighting back and trying to minimize our voice. And so there's a lot of work to be done, and that is a particular place that we will focus on.
Well, it's an honor to have you here. Russell Vought, former director of the Office of Management and Budget and president of the Center for American Restoration.